record.
3, 2, 1, go. So welcome to my kitchen. As I said before, I'm going to make this fun and interactive. The first thing I want you to know is that you don't have to write anything down, because we will give you copious amounts of notes and reference materials and the recipes. So it's easy peasy. Truth be told, I took a little class like this from a international type holistic coach. Her name is Andrea Beeman. She's very well known in the coaching industry, the health coach industry. And she talked about all these immune boosting ways that you can easily incorporate things into your diet. And I'm like, I can do that too. So I listened to her whole presentation. I took notes. She gave us some things. And then I had practically zero of the ingredients, which was no big deal at the time because I wasn't really cooking as I was watching, and which you're not either. But if you're interested in these, and I'll tell you different variations for them too. So then you can just go out, and I'm going to give you the whole list, if you didn't get it already, of how to buy them from Amazon and different places like that. So you all know about, what COVID does to our body and the immune compromisation of our lungs and our breathing and the immune system, and who isn't stressed, for starters, right? Stressed about, even if you don't sense that you're stressed, we're carrying this what if kind of like underlying turbulence, I'll just call it. And so anytime you introduce stress into your body, as many of you already know, it depletes your immune system. So there's just a couple little like easy peasy little things you can do in your kitchen and have in your pantry that are just, make the stress from here go to here and just kind of mellow you out. So there's 3 things we're going to work on today. And one is an immune boosting tea. That's super yummy. A delicious hot chocolate, hot cocoa. So good. And then little dessert bites called immunity booster balls, bites. So those are the 3 things. So we're going to start with, I'm going to show you some of the products that we're going to use. So I have in my kitchen, I have a kettle of water on here, and it's hot. So if you can't boil water, you got to leave the class. So I think you can boil water. So you get some hot water. And then if you have any kind of tea maker, like this is a little gizmo that I got. I think I actually got it as a gift one time. But it has a little strainer in it that I put my little loose tea in. And then you're going to put the water in here, and it's just going to steep. So I usually have a big container of this on hand all the time. In my fridge, you can make iced tea for it. And you really shouldn't in the wintertime. It's starting to get to be spring, so it's not as critical. But in the wintertime, you're not supposed to drink cold things. So sometimes I'll have it in the fridge. I'll take it out for the day and then just sip it, just like water. So in making this tea, there's 3 ingredients that I really want to talk about. And you might go, oh, I've heard of that. First one is mullein. And mullein leaf, mullein grows wild. Some people think it's in their garden, it's a weed. It's really wide leaves, and they're very fuzzy and gray, and it can grow taller than, myself. And it gets this poofy yellow flower on it. Sometimes it just shows up in your garden, unbeknownst to you. So it's really good for respiratory health. And you can put it in a pan of water, and you can like put your head over with a towel and just like breathe it in anytime you have like mucus or cough. It's so good for your respiratory. I never tried this, but truth be told, they say you can smoke it. You're not going to get high off of it. But Indian traditions use it in like pipe ceremonies. So it's mullein. And I got this one, and on your sheets, if you look anywhere on there, and pardon me as I reference like where I'm telling you to get these. Hold on a sec. So I got mullein on Amazon, and it's a giant bag. It's 8 ounces in here, but it's a hefty amount in here. And the shelf life is 18 months after you open it. So it's going to last you a long, 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 long time. And so the directions for the tea, we're going to make that first so it can steep. It says to use a 1/4 cup. These are just guesstimates. So all I do is I take my little cup and I just zhuzh some in there. So I put some in. You probably can't see that. So just a little bit like, yeah, that looks pretty good. Like you're making yourself some loose tea. And if you smell it, it has an earthy kind of flavor to it, but not, I mean, it's a good tea. So don't think like, oh, this is not going to taste good. It does taste good. So that's mullein. If anybody has a question about mullein, you can chat it, but it's great for respiratory. So you want to just always keep your respiratory system optimal if you can. And then this is called Tulsi, and Tulsi is holy basil. It's different than the basil you cook with like in Italian dishes. So it's called holy basil, and holy basil is, in the herbal world, it's called the queen of herbs because it's so, so powerful. So it's holy basil. It's actually part of the mint family, okay? Part of the mint family. Now here's on the, and I got this from Amazon too. It's a giant bag, holy basil. It's an herb with healing properties that relieves stress and protects the immune system. If I just read you on the back what it talks about, this is what it's good for. Reduces stress, yay. It builds stamina, that's a good thing. It uplifts your mood. So if you're cranky, Tulsi, holy basil, it's anti-aging. You didn't know I was 85, but this is what happens when you drink Tulsi tea. It aids digestion, so that's a winner. It supports the immune system. It balances your energy levels. It has tons of antioxidants. It balances your metabolism, and it's an adaptogen. Okay, so here's what an adaptogen is. You might have heard that term. There's a bunch of herbs that are called adaptogens. And the best way that I can describe this is just think of like a seesaw and pretend that you want to be level. So let's say there's something in your body like your cortisol. Debbie talks a lot about dopamine and cortisol in her classes about, so I was talking about the dopamine drip and releasing the cortisol. So let's say you're really stressed and your cortisol levels are like off the Richter scale. Adaptogens go into your body and they know whether you're high or low. So if your stress is really high, an adaptogen will go like, and it'll level you out. Let's say your energy is really low, like you're just too sluggish. An adaptogen will go in there and it'll bring it up. But the same person that's like over hyper, it's going to level it out. So that's what an adaptogen does. So you personally don't have to worry like, am I too high or too low? Because the adaptogen will get inside your body and it knows your body, and it'll figure out, do you need to be boosted or do you need to be lowered? That's what adaptogens do. They adapt. And there's a lot of different adaptogens in the herbal world. But holy basil's an awesome one. And if you breathe in that bag, it's very minty. It's very, very minty. So I just take some of the holy basil, lasts forever. I scoop some in here, just like pour it in. It's like a 50-50 blend. So it's really hard to see that, but it's in there. So that's like a 50-50 blend of the holy basil. And you can stop right there. You can make your tea right out of this and it'll last you like all week in the fridge, but basically you won't let it last that long because it is delicious. And then the third ingredient that's on the list is Schisandra berries. I got a big bag of these. This comes from, there's an herbal company called Frontier, and they're like super highly recommended herbal company. And this one you're going to get from Amazon as well. And Schisandra berries, I'll show you what they look like. They look like little itty bitty bitty berries that are sort of, well, they're dried. They look like a little turd of nothingness. They have a pretty potent smell. They're very good. And you can put in as few or as many as you want. So I just pick a handful. I just put a couple in there. So just put a couple in there. Bam. It's not rocket science. So Bill, you're good. So I have 3 ingredients in here. Mullein for the respiratory, good lung power. Holy basil or tulsi, that's going to be your mood and your energy and your stressor. Now, Schisandra, this is a good one. Reference my notes on here because I don't want to forget anything. It's great for your kidneys. Remember in Debbie's winter Qigong, you work on the kidneys, and kidneys are part of the winter. We were working on them. So it has a great effect on kidneys. It's so good for kidneys. It's a deep immune activator. So it's really going to activate your immune system. In Chinese medicine, they think that it has anti-aging properties. And it promotes physical, emotional, and even sexual stamina. So any of you ladies or men need that. Schisandra berries. You can treat coughs, asthma, indigestion, diarrhea, flu, insomnia, skin allergies, heart palpitations, insulin resistance, premenstrual syndrome, all of those Schisandra berries. It's like Shazam, Schisandra berries. It's an adaptogen, so it will know whether you should be ramped up or slowed down. And it improves your adrenals. So your adrenals and your kidneys, they all go together, and you need that. So it works on your adrenals, and it helps balance cortisol. So does tulsi. So you get the mullein, you get the tulsi. It's like the trifecta of happiness in here. And then all you do is you steep it. So I'm putting my water in here. And you can steep this. They tell you like 20, 30 minutes, but honestly, I steep it until I think I have the color that I want. I don't like too strong a tea or too weak a tea. I'm just going to pour it in here. We'll revisit this in a little bit. And that's going to be my tea. You can drink it hot, you can drink it cold. If you want to add honey to it or lemon, you can add things to it. And you're good to go. Excuse me. Okay, any questions so far?
And I have a question.
I'm going to cough, so I'm going to mute myself.
Can you over drink this tea? There's no caffeine in it, I'm assuming. Does it matter if you drink a whole pot of it in a day or?
Well, you know, the American way is if a little bit is good, a lot's got to be better. So I would not make this like my main thing that I drink all day, but I drank, you know, like a big glass of it in the afternoon. I drink it at night. One of them, where did I just read this? It helps with insomnia. Like the Schisandra helps with insomnia. So it's not going to keep you up at night.
Okay.
And the holy basil, well, the mullein is respiratory. That's not going to keep you up at night. And I see nothing in the holy basil here that says it balances your energy level. So it'll know which way to take you. And it aids in digestion. So let's say you had maybe a big meal at night or something like that later than you wanted to eat. I think it'll help you like calm that down at night. So I would not be afraid to drink a couple cups of this a day.
Okay. Louisa had a question. She wanted to know where you got your teapot.
Good question. I think my sister gifted it to me. If I had to be a betting woman, I would say QVC. I don't know. It's years and years and years old. You can even make this, you know how you have the little spoons that are tea infusers. You could just put a little bit of mullein, a little bit of tulsi, and a berry or two. Put that in your water. Call it a day. Not a problem. Or put it in a sieve and then just pour water over it and kind of let it sit there. But yeah, it's easy. So that's your first thing. Immune.
I'm sorry, I was just going to say something. There's something called a cold coffee thing, and it's just like your teapot. It's like how you make coffee, but when you do it with cold water, and they have the little thing in the middle.
Like a press, like a coffee press.
Well, it's not really a press. It's more exactly what you have, except it's for how you make coffee from cold water. So anyway, there's things out there, even if that's old and from CV, whatever that station is.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lynn said you could use a French press.
Mm-hmm.
Said you could use a French press, yeah.
So, I mean, it doesn't get a whole lot easier than that to boost your immune system, to work on your adrenals, to get your cortisol going. Holy basil is also very good for, you know, if have any issues with diabetes, and it also is said to have weight control properties. Now, I'm going to step away and bring something in. I'll show you this. You can even get tonics that are strictly holy basil tonics. This comes from Herbalist and Alchemist, and it's strictly holy basil. And you can, this promotes mental clarity too, according to this. So you can't go wrong. And I just tincture this and I just put it in water. It's not the best tasting, but once you get used to, you know, doing herbs, you're fine with it. So holy basil is super, super powerful, and you can grow it, but it's not the basil that you get at Wegmans where you put it on with some mozzarella and tomato. That's not holy basil. That's just basil. Big difference. Questions on that? We doing good on that? Okay, hot chocolate. This recipe is like so yummy. And it starts out with cocoa, raw cacao. Now, we all grew up on Hershey's cocoa, you know, that little brown, square, plasticky metal tub. That's not raw cacao. That's cocoa powder. You can make cupcakes with that. Raw cacao, and you can get this. I got this at Wegmans. You can get it online. Any health food store, practically any grocery store sells raw cacao. And raw cacao is like a ceremonial herb. You can get it in different, like this one I got watching an ad. It's called Cacao Bliss. It's ceremonial grade cacao infused with superfoods. There's all kinds of rituals that indigenous people do just around raw cacao. And if I Googled raw cacao, here's what comes up. It's packed with flavonoids. And what these do is they help lower blood pressure. They improve the blood flow to the brain, which I need some of today, and the heart. It helps to prevent blood clots. It may help with insulin sensitivity and it reducing the risk of diabetes. You can't have sugar in this. So the Hershey's might have sugar in it. This raw cacao, no sugar. Can you drink it every day, all day long? Maybe not so much, because you're going to have caffeine in this. And if you suffer from any kind of heart palpitations, You want to be careful. You don't want to OD on this. So if you have this like a couple times a month, once a week, coming in from the cold, have a cup of hot cocoa with this, it's really good. So what you do, I'm going to use this one instead of the other one. So it's 3 or 4 teaspoons. And this recipe makes about 2 servings. So I'm just going to take a pot. You're not going to see my face on that. But throw in 1, throw in 2, throw in 3. 3 is good. So I've got the raw cacao. So that's for starters. And if you look on the back of it, you'd find iron, magnesium, potassium, calcium, a little bit of fiber in there. So you're going to have some good happiness going on for that. Now here's probably the 2 most foreign substances that you might not ever buy or have or want to think about. It's mushrooms. Here's the fun guy. This is the fun guy coming in. So this is turkey tail. And turkey tail is not made from turkeys. It's a mushroom. It's a turkey tail mushroom. And it's a powder. And I got these on VitaCost. And we're going to give you that link if you don't have it already from Deb's handout. VitaCost is like an online company that sells all different products, supplements, vitamins, and you can write this down. They have 12% off going right now if you have this code. Here's the code, 12, and these are capital letters, VMHS. It's 12% off, 12 VMHS. Don't know what it stands for, but that's your code for 12% off. And if you miss that, you can ask me later. And reishi is a mushroom. So here's where the fun guy comes in. Mushrooms, like here I have a box of mushrooms. I'm gonna make mushroom soup later. This is a shiitake, I believe. So all mushrooms, and there is more mushrooms around than any other plant on the planet. That's how many varieties of mushrooms there are. So this is what we think of as, I don't know whether you think of it as a, oh, it's not a vegetable, it's a fungi. It's a fun guy. So this is actually the flower of the plant. So, and here's where the mycelium comes in. So funguses work underground. It's like the World Wide Web of underground like communication between funguses, and they can travel all underground, like many, many miles away. They go through the whole earth. And then they latch onto something like an old log or a tree or rocks. And then the mycelium do the work. And then if they're in the right environment, they will shoot up a flower, and the flower is the mushroom that we think of as a mushroom. So this stem has nothing to do with it. It's not the mycelium. So sometimes when you harvest a mushroom, like there's no mycelium in here because that was the underground rooting system. And it's like a really fine, like hairs, not like a root like you think of as a tree root, but just really fine hairs. So some mushrooms, and because there's thousands of them, some mushrooms have a lot of nutrients in the actual, I'll call this the mushroom flower, and some have more medicinal properties in the mycelium. So it's not like black or white. You have to know which one you're dealing with. And I don't know those answers because there's thousands of them. But if you were studying it, you go to school out on the West Coast and study mycology, and that's the whole study of fungus. You can get a degree in fungi and know all about it. But anyway, so they take the mushroom, and you have to buy it that has the mycelium in it. So on the back, when you're looking at your ingredients, or you're looking online for should I buy this one, on the back it will tell you organic turkey tail, mycelial biomass culture. It's got to say it in the product. Same thing with the rishis. This one says it's organic reishi, mycelial biomass spores, and fruit body powder. This lasts forever. I bought this months ago. I use it a lot. I even put sometimes a teaspoon or so in my coffee. I can't taste it in the coffee at all. It's really good. Here's another thing that I wanted to point out. I don't have it in my kitchen. But certain probiotics that you buy will have turkey tail or reishi mushroom mycelium in it. And you might be getting it and not even know that you're getting it. So check out your probiotic. I know Dr. Axe, A-X-E, has great probiotics and his has it in it. So I'm going to take a teaspoon of the turkey tail, or thereabouts. Put that in with the cocoa powder and a teaspoon of the reishi. And this is going to come in with the other recipe too, so it's not going too far away. So what does it do? Back here. Go back to my notes. So the benefits of that mycelium, it increases your immune cells. Yay. It activates your white blood cells for immune strength. Double yay. And it regulates your immune cells to balance. So again, it's like that adaptogen kind of thing. Like I said, the mycelium is the roots, so you got to get that powder in there. So it's boosting your immune system with putting the reishi and the turkey tail in there. And if you only want to put one in, you can do that, no biggie. The raw cacao goes in there. And then you put in cinnamon. Not only is it going to taste good, and if you can get organic, get organic. Put about a quarter teaspoon of this in. Cinnamon is really good for regulating blood sugar. So you can put cinnamon on lots of things, go for it. So just going to put like a quarter teaspoon in there or thereabouts. My favorite, you kick it up with a little pinch of red pepper, cayenne pepper, 1 or 2 dashes. If you've ever eaten chocolate with a little bit of hot pepper on it, red pepper, just gives it that extra little thing. Red pepper is going to open up your capillaries. Bam, put that in there. So you want to open it up, you're going to get your blood flowing. It's all going to be good. And then they tell you to put a cup of water. So pour in a cup of water in there, cup of water. And now the milk. So you can use any kind of milk. You can use coconut milk, almond milk, hemp milk, regular milk, low-fat milk, dairy, non-dairy, doesn't matter. Put a cup of it in there. So I got it on the stove. And now to make it just a little sweet, you're just going to zhuzh it up. It's going to look like the old-fashioned cocoa your mom used to make when you came in from sledding. Awesome. And then you want to add a little bit of honey. And here's the thing on honey. Use a locally sourced honey. You can use any honey you want, but if you have local honey, the story is that the more local your honey is, the more protective it is against allergies for where you live. So there's lots of great honeys from all over the world, but they're worked off of the bees that are over there. So let's say I'm in Pennsylvania. I want Pennsylvania honey. I want local honey. I want Orfield honey if I can. This is made in Whitehall. a couple streets down from me. My allergies in Pennsylvania can be different from the Virginia, the Rhode Island people. So you should get your own honey from your area, as much as possible, locally sourced. Let me tell you about a tablespoon of that. So I'm just gonna use a tablespoon of honey in there and let that all melt down. Lick the rest of it. So good. And then you just bring this up to a nice, you can see it stirring in here. And I've served this to guests and they're like, God, that chocolate is so good. But now, and here's how my tea is doing. You can see it's getting darker. And sometimes with this tea, what I'll do is I pour this out, like if I'm ready to pour this tea out. This is a weaker version. Sometimes I'll just set that aside. Then I'll go in here and I'll use that same amount of tea again, and I'll make a second steep out of it and maybe let it stay longer. So you can really play around with it. There's no right or wrong on that because it's just that easy. So once you get your cocoa going, now you can top this with whipped cream or whatever you want. And my favorite, don't tell anybody, my favorite is to have a shot of Bailey's in there. I'm serious. You put a shot of Bailey's in there, you have a party in a cup. Because, you know, gotta lift the spirits a little bit. So you're getting the turkey tail, the reishi, the cinnamon. I'm sorry for keep adjusting the screen, but that's what you do when Raul, the screen adjusting assistant, has not shown up again today. So a little bit of cayenne pepper, the raw cacao, you can make this like a ritual. And I'm telling you, you're getting a lot of immune boosting in there. So between the tea and the hot cocoa, it's awesome. Questions on the hot chocolate? Anybody have a question on the hot chocolate? Debbie, anybody shown up? I'm gonna put this in the fridge so my milk doesn't go.
Yeah, Louisa has a question. You can unmute yourself, Louisa.
Okay, I was just noticing that it's also on the recipe said 8 ounces of water. Could you add just the 2 cups of milk if you felt like it?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
And if you really don't want any milk at all, you could go with strictly water, but you're not gonna get it as creamy, I would say.
Did you put water in that in what you made? Okay.
I did. That was the first thing that I emptied out in my measuring cup before I put the milk, and I put the hot cocoa in there.
Okay, thank you.
So, you know, got my mug. This usually will make 2 cups. And again, you can cut that in half if you want. So what I made, there's just a little bit left in here, actually. I have a nice big mug. So that is my mug of hot chocolate yumminess. Smells delicious. I'll drink that later. Questions on that?
I think Lynn has a question.
Go ahead, Lenny.
Lynn, take yourself off mute. You're on mute, Lynn.
Does the cacao have some caffeine in it then, you said?
I'm sure it does, because it's you know, raw cacao, just like chocolate, has caffeine in it.
Okay.
That's why they're telling you if you have like heart palpitations, you can drink this on occasion, but it's not something you're going to want to drink every day if you
Right.
fall into that category. And I'm looking on the back. It has calcium, potassium, magnesium, iron. It does not give me a caffeine
That's okay.
quantity on it.
Okay.
Yeah, and like I said, can just get this raw cacao anywhere, or you can like go for the gold on this. It just says infused with superfoods, and I'm not sure. Like this one has turmeric root powder, Himalayan sea salt, cinnamon bark powder, monk fruit extract, black pepper. So you got to watch what you get. This is yummy cacao, but it's super, super pricey.
Dan,
This
somebody
is-
has a question. Is raw cacao the same as powdered cacao?
Is raw cacao the same as powdered cacao?
New messages received
Um,
from Tom Sell.
Hold on.
Messages, were you still thinking
Yeah,
of coming
hold
over?
on, hold on. Let me silent Michael. You mean as far as being organic?
No, I think, is raw cacao the same as powdered cacao? I think it is the same. I mean, it's.
It is powdered. It is powdered.
You can
Yes.
also get cacao in little bites, like little hard bites too,
Mhm.
but that's powdered.
Right. This is powdered. It's vegan, it's gluten-free, it's lactose-free. This is cacao powder. Doesn't say raw cacao. A lot of it is how much it's processed in heat to make it. Well, the raw is probably less processed as far as through a heat process, so it doesn't, heat up at all. This one actually doesn't say raw cacao, it just says cacao powder. And it's organic, but it's perfectly good to use. I just wouldn't use Hershey's cocoa. I just wouldn't.
Well, there's no really benefit in Hershey's cocoa.
I don't think so.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it tastes great, but
Oh, Bill has a question.
go ahead, Bill.
Just, yeah, there you go.
I'm jealous that you have Wegmans in Pennsylvania. We don't, I grew up in Rochester, so in Connecticut, I really miss Wegmans, and they have no plans of moving here. So
Yeah. Well, you can get all of these products via Amazon. That's the beauty of today's world. If
yeah,
you
okay.
look at it that way, but
Yeah, Wegmans is the best grocery store ever.
yeah, I love
They
them.
are.
You talk among yourselves as I get something else.
Yeah, so probably Whole Foods has all this stuff too. And you have a Whole,
Yeah, I thought.
yeah,
Yeah,
right in town, right in West Hartford.
yes.
But I agree, Wegmans is great. We don't have it here either in Rhode Island.
Yeah, that's too bad. Thank you.
Just
You're
so you know,
welcome.
Bill, not every place in Pennsylvania has Wegmans. So I live in Pennsylvania and there's no Wegmans within 45 minutes, an hour for me.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay.
Now, the next one, the immunity bites or balls. This is what they end up looking like. They're delicious. Can you see that? Now, these are rolled in coconut. If you don't like coconut, you do not have to roll it in coconut. They've been in my fridge. I'm down to 3 of them, saving them just for so that you can see by the magic of TV, this is what they're going to look like when they're done. They're absolutely a bite-sized treat. If you're on Weight Watchers, it's 4 points. Hey. One of the ingredients is goji berries. Okay, so you use a food processor. So I've got a little food processor going on right here. Goji berries. Goji berries are awesome. It's a good source of vitamin A. You can get these anywhere. You can get these absolutely anywhere. Now They're just very small, little dried berries. And so to make these bites a little bit more yummy, I'm just going to use the word yummy, you soak them in water. So I had a half a cup and I pre-soaked them in water. So this water, they're all like mushy. How long you soak them doesn't matter, but they're going to get nice and juicy. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to step away to my sink and I'm going to drain this out real quick. So as that's draining, the recipe also calls for walnuts. So it's a cup of walnuts and they're ground up. Now walnuts, you don't have to use walnuts, but walnuts, if you look at them, they look like a brain. They're good for brain health. They're great for your heart. If you like almonds, you can use almonds. You can use cashews. I would not recommend peanuts. Peanuts are not a nut. They're not good for men with prostate or for your prostate either. So men should not be eating peanuts, period, after a certain age. But walnuts are really good. And if you want to do a blend like pecans and almonds and walnuts, you can do that. If you have a nut allergy, you can keep those out if you want, but I think you're going to have to substitute something else with it. So I'm going to take this cup of walnuts and throw it in the food processor. So it takes walnuts. Back to the raw cacao. So you're going to use raw cacao in this recipe too. And you're going to use 2 tablespoons. You should stick to this recipe. Don't try to go, oh, I'll add more. You're not going to get the right consistency. So you put 2 tablespoons in there. Then, so I got walnuts, raw cacao, coconut oil. Coconut oil is so good for cooking in general, any kind. I get the organic stuff, and they want it melted. So I just melted just by taking, don't put it in the microwave because you're going to nuke it and take all the nutrients out. I took a little bowl, I put some hot water in for my tea. I set my coconut oil, which was, hardened, in here. A couple minutes, it was all soft and pliable, and then you can use it. So it wants 1 tablespoon. So I'm going to pour in 1 tablespoon of coconut oil right in there. The rest you can either pour back in your thing. Coconut oil is really good. You can use it all over your body. So if you're a little dry, you can just moisturize. Put this on any body part. I'm talking any body part, right on there. Coconut oil. So it's in there. Then you need some nut butter. Again, don't use peanut butter. You can use almond butter, cashew butter, maybe even a sunflower butter. I happened to make my own cashew butter the other day because I had out of almond butter from Wegmans, had tons of raw cashews and no almond butter. I'm like, I'll make my own. So I just put it in my Vitamix, stirred it up, stirred the bejesus out of it, and I'm good to go. Takes a tablespoon of that. So you take a tablespoon of your nut type butter. Again, don't use peanut butter, even though choosing mothers choose Jif, do not choose that. So I got my raw butter in there. Here comes more honey, a tablespoon or 2. It makes it sweet, yummy, delicious. I'm just going to scoop out the most giant tablespoon of that. I'll put 2 in because I don't want it as sugary. I do have to keep an eye on blood sugar. Do that. And then back to the reishi powder. Where is it? Where's my reishi powder? So back to reishi powder. So this is what adds more immunity to the bites. You've got your brain health with your nuts. You've got the raw cacao for all the heart immunity and the goodness there. Reishi powder, 2 teaspoons. Find my teaspoon here. So 2 teaspoons of that. That goes in there. You're not going to taste it. You're not going to know, no words. That's all in here. Now, coconut flakes. And it's calling for a 1/2 cup. So you can just buy coconut flakes. I bought some that were really like big and chunky, and I had to grind them down a little bit. Once a 1/2 cup, 1/2 cup. So let me find my 1/2 cup. Hold on. Pop them on your salads. Ta-da. I got a 1/2 cup of coconut, bam, that goes in there. So that's it. Now I'm going to put it on the food processor, and I am going to mute myself because I don't want to blast your ears away. So I've got it on the food processor right there. I'm going to hit the unmute myself for a second. Kind of stop it. You kind of look in there. It's going to get really, really mushed up and gooey looking. I'm going to hit it a couple more times, so I'm just going to mute. Forgot my goji berries. Oh my Lord. So let me go back, get my goji berries. Now, if you had inadvertently forgotten your goji berries, that's not going to be a big deal. You're just not going to get the goji berry goodness. So no big deal. I added those in there. That food processor, put you back on mute so I can. Okay. So it's all gooped up.
So Jan, if you don't have a food processor, what else can you use? A blender?
You could use a blender. So see how goopy it is? So what you do, and this is not rocket science either, you can, if you want, let me wipe my hands. You could roll these in nuts, like ground up nuts. You could roll these in cacao powder. Again, if you just want to dust it, you could roll it in confection sugar for all that matters. But they tell you, the maker of this recipe, tells you to take some more coconut, be very, like accurate about it. Like how accurate was that? I just poured some coconut in there. So it's shredded coconut in here. And then all you do, this is like, you can't get any easier than this.
Jan, somebody wanted to know, can you use blueberries?
I would use dried blueberries. I think you could use any kind of dried fruit. Not, if you use, fresh ones, it's going to get too wet. So you could use apricots, you could use dates, you could use, any kind of dried fruit. And then you take a little scoop, okay, just have a spoonful, And I just am gonna throw it in the bowl. I just plopped it in there like that. I roll it around in the coconut so it's not so gooey. Then when I pick it up, I can roll it in a ball. And there you have your coconut bite. So that's one of them. So you take your little mix, and you can make these as big or as small as you want. Bam, throw it in there, coat it first. It makes it less sticky. Like I said, you could coat this in really finely ground nuts or like a cacao powder if you want. And then just to make it pretty, you roll it. Just roll it between your palms. Make it meditative. Breathe into your diaphragm, as Debbie always suggests. You get a little ball, ta-da. And that's all you do. That's how you make them. And you just keep going and going and going. It makes about, this batch will make about 12 to 14 or so, depending on how big you want to make it. And then you put it in the fridge. Put them in the fridge until they harden up. And then you serve them. You'll be the host of the party. I mean, you could, if you want to be really ridiculous about it, you could dip these in chocolate. Just wow.
Are they
Get some-
are they high in calories, Jan?
They are 4 Weight Watcher points. I know that because I've measured it because I follow Weight Watchers. The highest, thinking of the calories in here, goji berries, 3 tablespoons or 110. Well, you're not going to have 3 tablespoons. You know, how many goji berries are in this? Like a couple. Your coconut, you've got your almond butter, whatever the butter is that you're using. So you got to look at the calories on the back. The raw cacao has 45 calories per serving, which is a tablespoon. I don't think they're that high. Again, you don't want to eat these all day long, but when you're hungry if you go between this and a Snicker bar, you go for this. This is the same for me as a square of Ghirardelli's 70% chocolate, which is 4 Weight Watcher points. So do I want this, which has some reishi in it and some good stuff, some, local honey, the goji berry, all that good stuff. I'm going for this every time. Questions on this one? I've done this in a Vitamix, and I've done a recipe similar to this in cooking classes. And the Vitamix, you just have to get in there and make it all go together because it's got that deep well, in a food processor, you can just access it better, I think. But if you don't have a food processor, a good blender could do it. Yeah. Oh, and if you really want to, and I want to, you could hit it with a dash of cayenne pepper, because these are amazing with a little pepper in them. It just gives it that little Mexican chocolate kind of flavor. That's not in the recipe, but I added it one time and it was like, ooh, that was so good. Anybody have questions on this one? Between these 3 recipes, your immune system is like singing a happy dance. That's all I got to say about that. It's a happy, happy dance.
So I have a question about the mushrooms, Jan. So I know there's so many kinds of mushrooms. It's amazing how many mushrooms there are out there. So would you say that the 2 powders that you introduced today are probably the most potent ones?
Oh, Deb, I don't have the authoritative answer on that. I know they're the ones that the guru of the health coaching industry recommended. And they're ones that are used quite often in powdered form in these recipes. It's the ones I think you'll find in most places. But whether it's the most potent, I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know. But I think you're going to find it easily. I got those on Vitacost. And Vitacost is a great, I won't call it a discounted site, but yet it kind of is. But they don't have junky products on there. I mean, they have really high-end supplements of all kinds. You'll go crazy if you look on that site for what you're all going to see.
So you mentioned that you put some of the, I don't know how to say it, reishi, how do you say it? R-E, how do you say that?
Reishi.
Reishi powder in your coffee. How much would you put in your coffee?
I put like a half a teaspoon in.
Okay.
Only because I know I have the reishi powder in my probiotic. And I also put a scoop or two of collagen powder in my coffee every day. You know, because you can't have too much collagen in your body at this age. And that has no flavor in it at all. So I will rarely drink a cup of coffee, you know, that doesn't have collagen in it, at least to start with. You don't taste it. It doesn't change the thickness of the coffee, or, you know, it doesn't make it thick. It just gives you collagen in your body.
Yeah. I think
Makes you
Lynn,
youthful.
yes. And you look youthful. You want to say how old you are?
I'll be 70 next month.
Yay.
Yay for 70. 70 is a new 50.
That's right. As long as you eat those mushrooms.
Right, eat the mushrooms. Now, if you have a mushroom allergy, you know, might not want to do it, but I've had lots of little immunity ball bites that have other things in it besides mushrooms. So I could send you recipes for things that have like dates in it, medjool dates versus goji berries, and it's delish. That's all. It's
Lynn,
really
did you
cool.
have a question, Lynn?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention this. Dr. Christopher Hobbs is out on the California coast. He's like the biggest specialist in mushrooms.
I'm
He
gonna wash
just,
my hands.
he just wrote his 8th book, and this last one is just about mushrooms. He's done a couple free presentations. His name is Dr. Christopher Hobbs, Hobbs. And I think a lot of the information you can find from him is free. And he said that reishi was the #1 antiviral to be taking for COVID.
Okay.
Before you have COVID. He, even as an herbalist, he's been practicing for 30 years. He said, you know, you go to the hospital, leave your herbs at home. But he said as a preventative, reishi is like one of the #1 antiviral. It's antibacterial, it's anti-inflammatory, it's anti a lot of things, but it is one of the highest in antiviral. So Jan's giving you good advice to.
Yeah. So it's probably good to drink that every day just as a tonic, just as
Sure.
a overall
Sure.
tonic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Thanks. Somebody
My
just
friend-
told of a movie called Fantastic Fungi.
Fungi. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see it, Kathy?
We were supposed to go see it over at the Jane Pickens last March, and it was like a week before they shut everything down. So I never got to see it. I
Oh,
paid for tickets, but
oh,
I never,
I think you can get it on streaming. I think it's streaming now.
yeah. I did want to say something. My friend Pam just gave me a website to get reishi. Her I don't know what kind of doctor, holistic doctor recommended it, but for people who are getting the vaccine, if you're getting it, she suggested maybe you should stop taking it a day or two, since it's so powerful in terms of your balancing your health, that it might not let the vaccine work as well. I can't tell you if that's true. I'm just telling you what she told me yesterday.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Mhm. Yeah, I know when I got my first dose, I'm getting my second vaccine on Wednesday. I I kind of stopped all my supplements for a day or two. I'm going, let's leave, let's leave things like alone. Don't add too many things to the body. Let it do its